proposed to the alien princess on one knee. She has been watching him. Before she replied, the crystal ship carrying Earth's first diplomats to Zephyria moved through space. Like a floating jewel, Captain Marcus Chen pressed his face against the window and watched the alien world grow larger. Blue mountains rose high into purple skies. Silver cities sparkled like stars on the ground. "Remember, Captain," said Ambassador Rodriguez, fixing his formal uniform. "We are guests here. The Zephyrians are much more advanced than us. We must be very respectful." Marcus nodded. He had studied the files for months. The Zephyrian Empire ruled over 1,000 planets. Their technology was beyond anything humans could dream of. Their people lived for centuries and could do things that seemed like magic. The ship landed in a port made of crystal and light. Marcus stepped outside and felt his breath catch. Everything glowed with soft colors that changed as he watched. Buildings twisted up toward the sky like frozen waterfalls. Flying vehicles moved without sound through the air. "Welcome to Zephyria," said a voice that sounded like wind chimes. Marcus turned and saw his first Zephyrian. She was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered blue and silver. Her eyes were large and deep purple. She wore robes that seemed to be made of captured starlight. "I am Council Speaker Velara," she said. "Princess Lyrale sends her greetings. She waits for you at the palace." The human team followed Velara through the crystal streets. Marcus tried not to stare, but everything was amazing. Gardens floated in the air without soil. Water flowed upward in spirals. Children played with toys that looked like tiny suns. Other aliens walked the streets too. Marcus saw beings with fur and multiple arms. Others looked like walking trees. Some floated like clouds with eyes. All of them bowed low when they saw Zephyrians. "They show respect to our people," Velara explained. "It is the way of the galaxy. The advanced guide the primitive." Marcus felt uncomfortable with those words, but he stayed quiet. The palace rose before them like a mountain of crystal and gold. Towers reached so high they disappeared into clouds. Bridges of light connected the different sections. Marcus had never seen anything so beautiful. Inside, the throne room was vast. The ceiling showed real stars moving across the dark sky. Hundreds of aliens stood in perfect rows. At the front, on a throne made of what looked like frozen music, sat Princess Lyrale. Marcus had seen her picture, but it had not prepared him for meeting her in person. She was young for a Zephyrian, maybe only 100 years old. Her hair moved like liquid silver. Her dress was made of light that changed, from blue to purple to green. When she looked at the human team, Marcus felt like she could see into his soul. "People of Earth," Princess Lyrale said, her voice clear and musical. "You honor us with your visit. Your planet is small and your people young, but you have traveled far to reach us." Ambassador Rodriguez stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Your Highness, we thank you for this chance. Earth wishes to learn from your great empire." The other alien delegates bowed too. Some touched the floor with multiple hands. Others floated lower to show respect. Marcus simply bowed his head in a respectful nod. Princess Lyrale's eyes stopped on him. For a moment, their gazes met. Marcus saw surprise flash across her face. She had expected him to bow lower. Like the others, "Interesting," she whispered. Too quiet for anyone else to hear. The ceremony continued with speeches and gift exchanges. Marcus listened but found himself watching the princess. She was clearly very intelligent. When other delegates spoke, she asked questions that showed deep understanding. When problems were discussed, she offered solutions that impressed everyone. But Marcus noticed something else. Every few minutes, her eyes would find him in the crowd. It was quick, just a glance. But it happened again and again. After 2 hours, the formal ceremony ended. The delegates moved to a great hall for food and conversation. Marcus stayed near the walls, watching everything. The food floated in the air until someone reached for it. The music came from nowhere and everywhere at once. He was studying a group of crystal sculptures when he heard a loud crack above his head. Marcus looked up and felt his blood turn cold. A huge piece of the crystal ceiling was falling. Cracks spread like spider webs across the surface. In seconds, tons of sharp crystal would crash down on a group of young Zephyrians who were playing below. "Look out!" Marcus shouted. He didn't think. His body moved on its own. Marcus threw himself forward, arms spread wide. He grabbed the small Zephyrian children and pulled them away from the danger zone. At the same time, he shouted warnings to everyone nearby. "Move, everyone move." Now, the crystal ceiling collapsed with a sound like thunder. Sharp pieces crashed where the children had been standing just seconds before. Dust and glittering fragments filled the air. Marcus felt sharp pain in his back and arms. Crystal shards had cut him as he shielded the children. Warm blood ran down his skin, but he ignored it. He checked the two small Zephyrians in his arms. "Are you hurt?" he asked them gently. The children looked up at him with wide purple eyes. They were scared but unhurt. Around them, other delegates were helping people who had been close to the falling crystal. Everyone was alive. Marcus had given the warning just in time. "The humans saved them," someone whispered. "He threw himself into danger for our children," said another voice. Princess Lyrale appeared beside Marcus. Her face showed emotions he couldn't read. She knelt down next to him as healers worked on his cuts. "Why did you do that?" she asked. Quietly. Marcus looked confused. "What do you mean? You risked your life for children who are not your own species. Your people barely know us. We have nothing to offer you in return. Why would you sacrifice yourself?" Marcus thought about her question. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I saw they were in danger. I had to help. That's just what you do." Princess Lyrale stared at him for a long moment. Around them, the celebration had stopped. Everyone was watching the human who had saved Zephyrian children without thinking about himself. "That's just what you do," she repeated slowly. As the healers finished treating his wounds, Marcus noticed something. Princess Lyrale was still watching him, but now her expression was different. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was something deeper, something that would change both their worlds. High above in the palace towers, hidden cameras recorded everything. The princess had access to these systems. Soon, she would be watching the human again and again, trying to understand what she had witnessed. The party continued late into the night, but Marcus felt tired from his injuries. As he was escorted to his rooms, he looked back once. Princess Lyrale stood in the doorway of the great hall, her silver hair catching the light. She was still watching him. Word count, 1,200 words. Princess Lyrale sat in her private chambers, surrounded by floating screens of light. Each screen showed different parts of the palace. The surveillance system could watch everything that happened in the Zephyrian capital. It was designed to protect the royal family and keep peace in the empire. But tonight, all the screens showed one person, the human called Marcus Chen. She watched him in his guest quarters, reading reports about Zephyrian culture. His finger traced the words as he learned about their history. Sometimes he would stop and write notes in a small book. His handwriting was careful and neat. Why did he save those children? Lyrale whispered to herself. She had asked the palace computers to analyze Marcus's behavior. The results confused her. According to Zephyrian science, less advanced species only help their own kind. They were supposed to be selfish and focused on survival. But Marcus had risked his life for alien children without thinking twice. On the screen, Marcus stood up and walked to his window. He looked out at the glowing city below. Even from this distance, Lyrale could see him studying everything with careful attention. His eyes moved like a soldier's, noting details and exits and potential problems. "Computer," she said, "show me all recordings of the human from today." The screens changed to show Marcus during the diplomatic meetings. Lyrale watched as he sat quietly. While other delegates argued about trade agreements, most beings would have looked bored or confused. But Marcus was different. His eyes were always moving, watching faces, reading body language. In one scene, two alien delegates from rival planets started to get angry with each other. Their voices rose, their hands moved toward weapons. Everyone else in the room froze, not sure what to do. But Marcus had moved first. He stood up and walked between the two delegates with a calm smile. He didn't say anything threatening. He just started asking questions about their home worlds. Soon, the angry delegates were describing their planets with pride instead of fighting. How? Did he know they would stop fighting? Lyrali wondered. She watched the scene again in slow motion. Just before the delegates got truly angry, Marcus's head had tilted slightly. His eyes had focused on their hands. He had seen the signs of violence before anyone else. The computer spoke in its mechanical voice. Princess, this behavior does not match our data on primitive species. Lyrali nodded. Show me more. The next scene was from the palace gardens. Marcus walked alone among the floating flower beds. Other delegates usually traveled in groups, protected by guards. But Marcus seemed comfortable by himself. As he walked, a small crisis developed nearby. A Zephyrian child had climbed too high in one of the crystal trees. She was stuck and scared. Crying for help, adult Zephyrians gathered below, discussing the best technological solution. Marcus didn't wait for technology. He looked at the tree, judged the distances, and started climbing. His movements were quick and sure. Within minutes, he reached the frightened child. It's okay, he told her. Gently, I'm here to help. He lifted the child and carried her down to safety. The whole rescue took less time than the Zephyrians had spent planning. He solved the problem with his body instead of his mind, Lyrali said, fascinated. But somehow, that was faster. She watched Marcus during the evening meals, while other delegates waited for servants to bring food. Marcus noticed when glasses were empty and refilled them himself. When an elderly delegate dropped his napkin, Marcus picked it up without being asked. Small kindnesses, Lyrali observed. He helps without expecting rewards. Days passed. Lyrali found herself spending more and more time watching the screens. She told herself it was scientific research. She needed to understand how primitive minds worked. But deep down, she knew she was simply curious about this strange human. Marcus, meanwhile, was beginning to notice things. On his third day at the palace, he left a small mark on his door before going out. When he returned, the mark had been moved slightly. Someone had entered his room. The next day, he left a book open to a specific page. When he came back, it was closed out by the fifth day. Marcus was sure someone was watching him closely. His military training had taught him to spot surveillance. But instead of feeling worried, he felt intrigued. If someone wants to watch me, he thought, I might as well give them something interesting to see. That evening, Marcus asked for permission to visit the palace workshop. He told the guards he wanted to make a small gift. They led him to a room filled with advanced tools and materials. Marcus ignored all the high-technology devices. Instead, he found simple wood and metal. Using only basic hand tools, he began to carve. From her screens, Lyrali watched with growing amazement. Marcus's hands moved with practiced skill. Slowly, a shape emerged from the wood. It was a small bird with wings spread wide, so detailed it seemed ready to fly. How is he doing that without scanners or computers? She whispered. The computer analyzed Marcus's work. Princess. His precision matches our best manufacturing systems. But he is using only visual calculation and muscle memory? Impossible. Lyrali said, but she couldn't deny what she was seeing. Marcus finished the carving and held it up to the light. The wooden bird cast delicate shadows on the wall. Then he did something that made Lyrali gasp. He looked directly at one of the hidden cameras and smiled. He knew he was being watched. The next morning, Marcus left the wooden bird on a bench in the garden where he often walked. A small note was attached to it in careful Zephyrian writing. It said, for the one who watches, thank you for your interest. Lyrali stared at the screens in shock. Not only did Marcus know about the surveillance, but he wasn't angry about it. He was grateful. She sent a servant to collect the gift when the wooden bird arrived in her chambers. Lyrali held it carefully in her hands. The carving was perfect. Every feather was detailed. The eyes seemed alive. Computer, she said, how long would it take our best artists to create something like this? Using standard methods, approximately 47 hours with advanced tools. How long did the human take? 3 hours and 12 minutes with primitive tools. Lyrale set the bird on her desk where she could see it for the first time in her long life. She had encountered someone who challenged everything she thought she knew about intelligence and capability. That night, she made a decision that would change everything. Instead of just watching Marcus from afar, she would meet him face to face. She would talk to him directly and try to understand this mystery. But first, she needed to be careful. If the other nobles learned that she was personally interested in a primitive human, it could cause serious political problems. She began to plan how to approach Marcus without drawing attention. What she didn't know was that her interest in the human had already been noticed by others in the palace, and not all of them approved. In the shadows of the crystal towers, enemies were beginning to watch the Watcher. Princess Lyrale walked through the crystal gardens early in the morning. She wore a simple robe instead of her royal dress, hoping to look less formal. Her heart beat faster. As she approached the place where Marcus took his daily walks, she had planned this accidental meeting carefully. According to her surveillance, Marcus always visited the floating flower gardens at sunrise. She would be there, pretending to enjoy the morning air. They would meet naturally, without drawing attention from the palace gossips. But when she turned the corner, Marcus was already there, sitting on a bench. He looked up at her with knowing eyes and a gentle smile. "Good morning, Your Highness," he said, standing respectfully. "Beautiful morning for a walk, isn't it?" Lyrale felt her cheeks turn blue with embarrassment. "Oh, Captain Chen, I didn't expect to see anyone here so early." Marcus's smile widened slightly. "I find the gardens peaceful at this hour. The light is perfect for thinking." He gestured to the bench. "Would you like to sit? I was just watching the flowers change colors." Lyrale sat down, trying to look surprised by the coincidence. But Marcus's expression told her he wasn't fooled. Somehow, he had figured out her plan. "Captain," she said carefully, "do you enjoy studying our culture?" "Very much," Marcus replied. "Your people have achieved amazing things. But I'm most interested in understanding how you think, how you solve problems, how you see the world, and what have you learned?" Marcus was quiet for a moment, watching a blue flower slowly turn silver in the morning light. "Your people are incredibly smart," he said finally. "You have technology. That seems like magic to us. You can predict the future, control matter, travel between stars." But, Lyrale asked, curious despite herself. "But sometimes I think all that technology makes you forget to trust your instincts. You analyze everything so carefully that you miss simple solutions." Lyrale frowned. "Simple solutions are usually wrong. Careful analysis prevents mistakes." Marcus nodded. "You're right, but sometimes, when you're analyzing a problem, the problem changes. By the time you find the perfect answer, it's too late to use it." They talked for an hour. Lyrale found herself fascinated by Marcus's different way of thinking. He didn't have access to computers or advanced sensors, but he noticed things she missed. He could read emotions in people's faces. He understood when someone was lying just by watching their body language. "How do you do that?" she asked when he correctly guessed that a passing servant was worried about his sick child. "Practice," Marcus said simply. "Humans have to read each other to survive. We don't have telepathy or emotion sensors, so we learn to watch faces, voices. The way people move, it becomes automatic after a while." Over the following days, these accidental meetings continued. Lyrale would find reasons to be in places where Marcus was likely to visit. Sometimes they talked about technology and culture. Other times they simply walked together, enjoying each other's company. Marcus never mentioned that he knew these meetings were planned. Lyrale never admitted she was arranging them. But both understood the game they were playing, and both enjoyed it. However, their growing friendship did not go unnoticed. Duke Korath, the Emperor's brother, watched from his tower windows as the princess talked with the human in the gardens. His face twisted with disgust. Korath believed strongly that Zephyrians were superior to all other species. The idea of the royal princess spending time with a primitive alien made him angry. "Shameful," he muttered to his aide. "The princess disgraces herself by associating with that creature." His aide A nervous young Zephyrian named Telos shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps she is just being diplomatic. My lord, the humans are our guests. Diplomatic? Korath laughed harshly. She meets with him in secret. She walks with him like they are equals. This is not diplomacy. This is contamination. Korath began gathering other nobles who shared his views. Many older Zephyrians were uncomfortable with aliens visiting their homeworld. They believed that contact with primitive species would weaken Zephyrian purity. The princess spends too much time with the human, Korath told them during secret meetings. She is young and doesn't understand the danger. We must protect her from making a terrible mistake. Meanwhile, Marcus was learning to navigate Zephyrian politics. He noticed the hostile looks from some nobles. He saw how conversations stopped when he entered rooms. His diplomatic training warned him that trouble was building. During one of his walks with Lyrale, he decided to address the issue directly. Your Highness, he said, I think my presence here is causing problems for you. Lyrale looked surprised. What do you mean? Some of your people don't like that you're spending time with me. I can see it in their faces. I don't want to damage your reputation. Lyrale's eyes flashed with anger. My reputation is my own concern, Captain. One chooses my own friends. I know, Marcus said gently. But I also know politics. If the nobles unite against you because of me, it could hurt your ability to help your people. Maybe I should keep my distance. No, Lyrale said firmly. I won't let fear control my decisions. You have shown me new ways of thinking. Your friendship is valuable to me. If some nobles cannot accept that, the problem is theirs, not ours. But even as she spoke those brave words, Lyrale knew Marcus was right. The political situation was becoming dangerous. The crisis came sooner than expected. Emergency alarms suddenly filled the air. Red lights flashed across the sky. Palace guards ran through the corridors shouting urgent messages. What's happening? Marcus asked a running guard. Attack! The guard yelled without stopping. The Void Collective is attacking our border worlds. In the palace command center, chaos ruled. Generals and admirals crowded around glowing maps that showed Zephyrian space. Red markers indicated 3 worlds under attack by the mysterious Void Collective, an enemy empire from the dark regions of the galaxy. Marcus stood with the other diplomatic observers, watching the crisis unfold. The Zephyrian military leaders were clearly skilled and experienced. They had advanced weapons, powerful shields, and faster ships than their enemies. But something was wrong. Our fleets are retreating from Kepler 7, reported one admiral. Vega. Station has gone silent, said another. How is this possible? Demanded General Thane, the military commander. Our ships are superior in every way. Our tactics are perfect. The computers predict easy victory. Marcus studied the battle displays, his mind working. He had been a soldier before becoming a diplomat. He understood warfare, even if he didn't understand alien technology. Permission to speak, General? He asked. The Zephyrians turned to look at him. Some faces showed surprise that the primitive human would offer opinions on advanced warfare. General Thane nodded curtly. Speak. Your enemy isn't trying to win through superior force. Marcus said. They're using psychological warfare. Look at the pattern of their attacks. He pointed to the display. They hit your most confident commanders first. They retreat just when your forces expect victory. They attack in ways that make no logical sense. They're not trying to destroy your ships. They're trying to confuse your minds. The Zephyrian officers looked skeptical. Their computer models showed clear tactical situations with predictable outcomes. But Princess Lyrale stepped forward. Continue, Captain Chen. What do you recommend? Marcus felt all eyes on him. This was the moment that would test everything. He had learned about Zephyrian culture and everything they had learned about human thinking. Stop trying to predict them, he said simply. Start thinking like them. Word count, 1,000 to 100 words. The war room fell silent after Marcus spoke. General Thane stared at the human with cold eyes. Other military officers whispered among themselves, their voices full of doubt. Think like them? General Thane repeated slowly. Captain Chen, we are not barbarians. We use science and logic to win wars, not primitive guessing. Marcus nodded respectfully. I understand, General. But your science assumes the enemy will act logically too. What if they don't? Princess Lyrale stepped closer to the battle displays. Show us what you mean. Captain, Marcus pointed to the red markers on the star map. Look at their targets. Kepler 7 is your mining world, but they didn't attack. The mines, they hit the recreational areas where families live. Vega Station controls shipping routes, but they attacked the medical center, not the military base. Random targets, General Thane said dismissively. They don't understand strategic value. No, Marcus said firmly. They understand something else. They're attacking places that will make your people afraid and angry. They want your commanders to make emotional decisions instead of logical ones. Admiral Korth, an elderly Zephyrian with many battle scars, studied the display more carefully. The human may have a point, she said slowly. Our captains are reporting unusual stress levels among their crews. General Thane's face showed anger. We don't need advice from a primitive species about advanced warfare. But Princess Lyrale had been watching the battle reports with new eyes. Father, she said to Emperor Zix, who had been listening quietly, I request permission to give Captain Chen temporary advisory status. The Emperor's silver eyebrows rose. Duke Korth, who stood near the throne, made a sound of disgust. Absolutely not, Korth declared. Your Majesty, we cannot allow an alien to influence our military decisions. It would be a disgrace to our empire. The current approach isn't working, Lyrale replied calmly. We're losing ground against an enemy that should be easy to defeat. Perhaps we need a different perspective. Emperor Zix looked at his daughter, then at Marcus, then at the battle displays showing more Zephyrian retreats. Finally, he spoke. Captain Chen, you have advisory status for this crisis only. General Thane, you will listen to his suggestions. General Thane's jaw tightened, but he bowed to his emperor. As you command, your majesty. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Thank you, your majesty. I won't let you down. Working alongside Lyrale and a small team of younger officers, Marcus began analyzing the Void Collective's tactics. He ignored the advanced computer models and focused on patterns that made emotional sense rather than logical sense. They're trying to make you predictable, he explained to the gathered commanders. Your computers calculate the best response to each attack, but the enemy knows your computers. They attack in ways that will make your computers suggest exactly what they want you to do. So what do you suggest? Admiral Korth asked. Marcus smiled. We do things that don't make sense. We respond in ways no computer would recommend. We become unpredictable. Over the next several hours, Marcus worked with Lyrale to develop new tactics. Instead of sending massive fleets to defend important targets, they sent small, fast ships to seemingly random locations. Instead of fighting major battles, they launched dozens of tiny raids. This is madness, General Thane complained. We're wasting resources on meaningless actions. But the results began to speak for themselves. The Void Collective's attacks became hesitant and confused. Their perfectly coordinated assaults fell apart when Zephyrian forces appeared in unexpected places at surprising times. The turning point came when sensors detected a Void Collective fleet preparing to attack a Zephyrian research station. The station held thousands of civilian scientists and their families. Standard procedure is to evacuate the civilians and defend with our battle fleet. General Thane announced. No, Marcus said quietly. That's what they expect. That's what their whole plan depends on. He turned to Princess Lyrale. Your Highness, I need permission to try something that will seem completely crazy. Lyrale looked into his eyes. In that moment, she had to choose between everything she had been taught about proper tactics and her growing trust in this strange human's insights. What do you need? She asked. 3 fast ships, 50 volunteers, and your father's permission to ignore all military regulations, Marcus said. Emperor Zix leaned forward on his throne. Explain. Marcus pointed to the display. The enemy expects us to evacuate the research station. They're counting on those evacuation ships being there when they arrive. What if the evacuation ships are armed Zephyrian fighters pretending to be helpless transports? General Thane looked horrified. Disguised military vessels as civilian ships? That violates every rule of honorable warfare. It's not honorable, Marcus agreed. But it will save those families. Princess Lyrale stepped forward. Father, I volunteer to lead the mission. The throne room erupted in shocked voices. Duke Korth grabbed his chest as if having heart problems. Absolutely not, he shouted. The royal princess cannot risk her life on a primitive human's wild plan. But Emperor Zix was studying his daughter's face. He saw determination there. And something else, trust, complete faith in the human who had shown them new ways of thinking. Very well, the Emperor said finally. But Captain Chen will go with you if this plan fails. I want him there to protect you. It won't fail, Marcus said with quiet confidence. 3 hours later, Marcus and Princess Lyrale flew toward the research station in ships, disguised as evacuation transports. 2 other vessels followed them, also hiding their true nature. Are you nervous? Lyrale asked as they approached the station. Marcus checked his weapons one more time. Terrified, he admitted, but sometimes being scared helps you think more clearly. The research station appeared ahead of them, a beautiful crystal structure floating in space. Hundreds of families waited inside, trusting that their princess would save them. Enemy fleet detected, reported their pilot, 12 large ships, moving to attack positions. Marcus and Lyrale watched the Void Collective vessels approach. They looked like dark metal sharks, sleek and deadly, energy weapons charged along. Their hulls, they're scanning us, the pilot announced. They think we're civilian evacuation ships. Perfect, Marcus said. Let them get close. The enemy ships moved into attack formation, preparing to destroy what they thought were helpless transports. It was exactly what Marcus had predicted. Now, he said quietly, the disguised Zephyrian fighters dropped their false civilian signals and revealed their true nature. Advanced weapons systems came online. Shields activated at full power. The Void Collective fleet, caught completely by surprise, had no time to adjust their tactics. They had expected to face frightened civilians and evacuation ships. Instead, they found themselves in close combat with some of Zephyria's best fighters. The battle was short and decisive. Marcus's unconventional plan worked perfectly. The enemy fleet was destroyed, and every civilian at the research station was saved out as they flew back to Zephyria. Princess Lyrale looked at Marcus with new respect. Your tactics saved thousands of lives today, she said. Marcus smiled. Your willingness to trust me made it possible. That took real courage. I'm beginning to understand something, Lyrale said thoughtfully. Intelligence isn't just about having the best computers or the most advanced technology. It's about knowing when to trust your heart instead of your head. As their ships approached the crystal spires of home, both Marcus and Lyrale realized that something had changed between them during the battle. Working together, trusting each other completely, had created a bond deeper than friendship. But neither of them spoke of it yet. There would be time for such conversations later. For now, it was enough to know that they had saved their people together. 3 days after the victory at the research station, Marcus stood on the highest balcony of the Crystal Palace. The twin moons of Zephyria hung like silver pearls in the purple sky. Below him, the capital city sparkled with 10 million lights, each one representing a life that had been saved by their combined efforts. His heart pounded as he waited for Princess Lyrale. He had asked her to meet him here for something important. What he planned to do would either bring their two peoples together or destroy everything they had built. Footsteps echoed behind him. Marcus turned to see Lyrale approaching, her silver hair flowing like starlight in the moonbeams. She wore a simple blue dress that made her purple eyes glow. You wanted to see me, Marcus? She asked, using his first name for the first time. Marcus felt his mouth go dry. He had practiced this moment 100 times, but now the words seemed impossible to say. Lyrale. He began, then stopped. Your Highness, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be so informal. She smiled gently. After everything we've been through together, I think you can call me by my name. Marcus nodded, gathering his courage. Lyrale. These past weeks have changed my life. Working with you, learning from you, fighting beside you. It's shown me something I never expected to find. What's that? She asked softly, instead of answering with words. Marcus did something that shocked them both. He dropped to one knee before her, the traditional human gesture of proposal. In Zephyrian culture, kneeling meant surrender or submission, but Marcus's action looked different somehow. It looked like a choice made from strength, not weakness. I love you, Marcus said simply. I know I'm just a human from a small planet. I know your people think I'm primitive. But these weeks have shown me that love doesn't care about species or technology, or what others think is proper. Lyrale stared down at him, her mind racing. She had studied human customs enough to understand what this gesture meant, but seeing it in person, feeling the emotion behind it, was completely different. Marcus, she whispered, do you understand what you're asking? I'm asking you to marry me. He said clearly, I'm asking you to join your life with mine. I'm asking if you believe that two people from different worlds can build something beautiful together. Before Lyrale could answer, emergency sirens began wailing across the city. Red warning lights flashed from every tower. The palace communication system activated with urgent messages. All military personnel report immediately. All civilians seek shelter. This is not a drill. Marcus jumped to his feet. What's happening? Through the crystal walls of the palace, they could see massive dark shapes moving against the stars. Ships. Hundreds of them. The largest fleet either had ever seen. The Void Collective, Lyrale breathed. They're attacking the homeworld directly. They ran together toward the war room. Guards and officials rushed through the corridors in organized chaos. In the command center, Emperor Zix stood before the main display, his face grim. Report. Lyrale demanded as they entered. General Thane turned toward them, his expression dark. 800 enemy ships approaching from the dark side of the system. They'll reach Zephyria in 2 hours? Our fleet? Marcus asked. Scattered across the Empire, protecting other worlds, Admiral Korth replied. We have only 50 ships here to defend the homeworld. Duke Korth stepped forward, his face twisted with anger. This is your fault, human. Your primitive tactics have made us weak. You've confused our military with your barbaric thinking. Enough. Emperor Zix said firmly, we must focus on defense, not blame. Marcus studied the tactical display. The enemy fleet was massive, but something about their approach bothered him. They're not just trying to conquer Zephyria, he said slowly. This is something else. What do you mean? Lyrale asked. Marcus pointed to the formation of enemy ships. Look at their signal patterns. They're broadcasting something, not weapons. Fire or demands for surrender. Something else. The communication officer looked up from his station. Captain Chen is right. They're transmitting some kind of psychic disruption signal. It's affecting our computer systems. Suddenly, Marcus understood. It's not just an attack. It's a trap. They want to paralyze your ability to think clearly, to make decisions. They're trying to turn your own technology against you. Round the room, Zephyrian officers were already showing signs of confusion. Their normally quick minds seemed sluggish. Decision-making became difficult. The signal is getting stronger, the communication officer reported. His voice becoming distant and mechanical. Princess Lyrale felt the effects too. Her thoughts became cloudy. Her usual sharp intelligence felt wrapped in fog. But when she looked at Marcus, she noticed something important. You're not affected, she said. Marcus nodded. Human brains work differently. Whatever they're using to disrupt Zephyrian minds doesn't work on us. Emperor Zix struggled to speak clearly. Captain Chen, you must take command, father. No, Duke Korth protested, though his words came out slowly. Never let primitive lead. But Lyrale understood what needed to happen. Even through the mental fog, she could see the truth clearly. Marcus wasn't primitive. He was their only hope. Marcus, she said, fighting to form the words. I trust you. Save our people. Looking into her eyes, Marcus felt something click into place. This wasn't just about military tactics anymore. This was about proving that different kinds of intelligence could work together. This was about showing the galaxy that cooperation was stronger than conquest. "I need every human on Zephyria," he told the communication officer. "Diplomats, trade representatives, tourists, everyone. Get them here now." "What's your plan, Admiral?" Korath asked, struggling against the mental interference. "We fight back with something they can't understand or disrupt," Marcus said. "Human intuition." Over the next hour, as the enemy fleet approached, Marcus coordinated a defense unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 37 humans scattered across Zephyria took control of the planet's defensive systems. They didn't use computers or predictive algorithms. They used instinct, creativity, and pure human stubbornness. The battle that followed was chaotic and unpredictable. Human-controlled Zephyrian ships moved in patterns that made no logical sense but somehow worked perfectly. They attacked when they should have defended, retreated when they should have advanced, and coordinated without any central command structure. The Void Collective's psychic disruption weapon, designed to confuse logical minds, was useless against human irrationality. Their perfect battle plan fell apart when faced with tactics that changed every few minutes, based on nothing more than gut feelings. As the last enemy ship fled into deep space, the psychic interference finally ended. Zephyrian minds cleared, and the true scope of what had happened became apparent. "Impossible," General Thane whispered, staring at the tactical display. "We shouldn't have won that battle." "But we did," Lyrale said, looking at Marcus with wonder. "Because sometimes the impossible is exactly what's needed." Emperor Zix approached Marcus, his expression thoughtful. "Captain Chen, you have saved our world. Our empire owes you a debt that can never be repaid." "Actually, Your Majesty," Marcus said, turning toward Lyrale, "there's something I'd like to ask for." He dropped to one knee again, this time in front of the entire Zephyrian court. "I proposed to your daughter before the battle began. I'd like to hear her answer." The throne room fell silent. Every eye turned to Princess Lyrale. She looked at Marcus, this brave human who had saved her people, who had shown her new ways of thinking, who had trusted her completely when it mattered most. "Yes," she said clearly, her voice carrying to every corner of the room, "but not just to marriage, to partnership, to proving that different species can be stronger together than apart." As Marcus stood and took her hands, Emperor Zix smiled for the first time in days. "Then let this be the beginning," he announced, "of a new age for both our peoples." In the crystal palace of Zephyria, under twin moons and ancient stars, two hearts from different worlds beat as one. And across the galaxy, the news spread that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from being the same, but from celebrating what makes each of us unique.